Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story unfolds like a thriller straight out of modern history. A stunning revelation has shaken Eastern Europe. Lukashenko's secret plan to invade Ukraine has been exposed, and in a dramatic twist, Kyiv struck first. What began as whispers of covert operations along the northern border has now turned into one of the most unexpected military developments of the war. Belarus, long considered Russia's closest ally, had apparently been preparing for a coordinated offensive to open a new front against Ukraine, but Ukrainian intelligence acted swiftly, exposing and neutralizing the threat before it could erupt into full-scale chaos. The tension between Ukraine and Belarus has been simmering since the early days of the Russian invasion. While Belarus officially denied direct involvement, its territory was used as a launch pad for Russian missile attacks and troop movements. But behind the scenes, Lukashenko was reportedly under growing pressure from Moscow to take a more active role in the conflict. Intelligence leaks suggest that Russian advisors were embedded deep within the Belarusian military, drafting operational plans and training units specifically for cross-border incursions. The objective was simple: to stretch Ukraine's defenses thin and give Russia the upper hand on the Eastern Front. According to Ukrainian intelligence sources, Belarus had mobilized several battalions near the Homel and Brest regions close to the northern border of Ukraine. Satellite imagery showed unusual troop activity, heavy equipment movements, and even the construction of temporary field hospitals, a clear indicator of impending combat operations. Ukrainian drones confirmed these findings, spotting armored vehicles and artillery batteries being positioned just a few miles from the frontier. Kyiv understood the message clearly. An attack could come at any moment, and waiting too long could be disastrous. That's when Ukraine decided to act. Instead of waiting for the invasion to begin, Ukrainian forces launched a series of preemptive strikes targeting Belarusian military installations that were allegedly part of Lukashenko's plan. These precision strikes destroyed several ammunition depots and command centers, crippling Belarus's ability to coordinate a large-scale offensive. Reports from inside Belarus describe widespread confusion among the ranks, as officers struggled to determine whether the attacks were a warning shot or the beginning of a broader Ukrainian counter-operation. The Kremlin, predictably, reacted with outrage. Russian media accused Ukraine of aggression and claimed that Belarus had every right to defend itself. But analysts around the world quickly pointed out the irony. It was Belarus that had been secretly preparing to attack, and Ukraine merely acted to prevent a second invasion from its northern border. Western intelligence agencies, particularly from the UK and the US, confirmed that the Ukrainian strikes were indeed defensive in nature and were based on credible evidence of an imminent threat. Inside Belarus, the situation became politically explosive. Lukashenko, already walking a tightrope between Moscow's demands and his own people's growing discontent, found himself trapped. Protests erupted in several cities as citizens feared that Belarus might be dragged fully into the war. Opposition leaders, many of whom are in exile, seized the moment to criticize the regime, accusing Lukashenko of betraying national interests by serving as Putin's puppet. The atmosphere in Minsk grew increasingly tense as rumors spread that several Belarusian commanders had refused to carry out the planned invasion orders. Meanwhile, Ukraine capitalized on the situation diplomatically. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation, stating that Ukraine would not allow another front of death and destruction to open on its soil. He reaffirmed that Kyiv's goal was not to invade Belarus, but to protect its sovereignty and people. His speech resonated deeply across Europe, reinforcing the narrative that Ukraine remains a nation defending itself against aggression on all fronts. Western allies responded swiftly with words of support, and discussions about expanding sanctions against Belarus began immediately. Military experts believe that Kyiv's quick action may have saved thousands of lives. By exposing Lukashenko's plan early, Ukraine forced Belarus to retreat into damage control mode, preventing what could have been a devastating new chapter in the war. The Ukrainian army's intelligence operations have become legendary for their precision and timing, often catching adversaries off guard before they can act. This latest episode only strengthens that reputation. It also sends a powerful message to other potential aggressors. Ukraine is not waiting to be attacked anymore. It's taking the initiative. However, this move also carries serious risks. Russia could use the incident as a pretext to deepen its military integration with Belarus, effectively turning the country into a northern extension of its armed forces. There are already reports that Moscow is moving additional troops and air defense systems into Belarus, claiming to protect its ally. Such actions could escalate tensions even further and raise fears of a wider regional conflict involving NATO's eastern flank. Countries like Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia are closely monitoring the situation, increasing their border security and conducting joint exercises with NATO forces. Lukashenko's future now looks uncertain. His decades-long grip on power depends heavily on Moscow's support, but the latest revelations show that even loyalty to Putin comes with dangerous costs. Many analysts argue that he has lost control over his own military, which is now deeply influenced, if not outright controlled, by Russian officers. Others suggest that the exposure of this secret plan might actually force him to distance himself slightly from Putin to avoid a full-scale rebellion at home. Whatever the case, Belarus stands at a crossroads: either become a direct participant in Russia's war, or face internal collapse due to public outrage and international isolation. In Kyiv, the mood is cautiously optimistic. Military officials describe the successful preemptive operation as one of their most precise and intelligence-driven missions since the war began. Citizens celebrated the news with a sense of relief, knowing that the threat from the north had been neutralized, at least for now. Yet, no one is under any illusion that the danger has completely passed. Ukraine remains vigilant, constantly monitoring the border and preparing for any possible retaliation. As for the global response, reactions have been mixed. Some countries praised Ukraine for its decisive action, calling it a textbook example of strategic defense. Others warned that such strikes could set a dangerous precedent and risk widening the war beyond Ukraine's borders. Still, the prevailing sentiment across most Western capitals is that Kyiv had little choice. When faced with an imminent attack, preemption is not provocation. It's survival. In the end, this episode once again highlights how fragile and unpredictable the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe has become. A single intelligence leak, a secret plan, or a miscalculated strike could shift the balance of power overnight. Ukraine's move to expose and strike first against Belarus demonstrates both its growing confidence and its desperation in the face of constant threats. Lukashenko, on the other hand, now faces the consequences of his secret ambitions: a weakened army, angry citizens, and an increasingly skeptical ally in Moscow. The war continues to evolve, and with every twist, the stakes grow higher. As Ukraine proves again that it will not be cornered, one thing becomes clear. In this conflict, information is as powerful as any missile. Lukashenko's secret plan may have been exposed, but the world is watching to see what his next move will be. And for Ukraine, every victory, whether on the battlefield or in intelligence warfare, is another step toward ensuring its survival and sovereignty in a region that has seen too many betrayals and too many wars.